Oh man, it's getting good now. Everybody grab your popcorn. New media is here. Now they're revealing who was the rumored guy to knock out Joshua in sparring and concuss him ahead of his fight with Andy Ruiz. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I don't want to bore you with the long intro. Let's get into it. I just made a video about it. There are rumors circulating and reports from UK media, just so you guys know, this is not like American media trying to support Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz and bash Joshua. World Boxing News, I already did a video about it. Check that video on the channel. Give a thumbs up and like this video. I did a video. It says Joshua's father wanted his son out of the Andy Ruiz fight because he was KO'd in sparring. Link in the description. That's the first video. And this interview, or this detective work that World Boxing News did, they're surmising that Joshua did not have a peaceful camp. It says right here, promoter Eddie Hearn was targeted for abuse by Joshua's father, Robert Joshua, who was spotted pointing and gesturing, and this is on camera. We've seen that part, so there's no denying that. Gesturing at Hearn as Andy Ruiz spoke to DAZN reporters. And you see there's commotion going on behind it. They even included the scene. It's understood by WBN, the website, popular boxing credible website, that Robert Joshua wanted Anthony Joshua pulled from the contest after the incident in sparring. And if you read the beginning, it says how Joshua was indeed knocked out in sparring, right? They did some detective work, did some digging, everyone said Joshua seemed out of sorts. He seemed shook. He seemed not himself. I pulled it up. This is Dawejko. This is his record, 1974. He is confirmed to have sparred with Anthony Joshua. Now, World Boxing News, they did an update to this whole story, like this uncovering, saying Joshua was concussed and badly hurt and or stopped, knocked out. When it comes to Joshua being hurt or knocked out in sparring, it's sparring, so it doesn't mean he had to be knocked out like eyes closed, like Amir Khan versus Canelo. But, he could be rattled to the point where Rob McCracken or something had to stop the sparring. Now, look, this is the updated story. Link in the description. World Boxing News is now saying revealed the fighter who knocked out Anthony Joshua in sparring, right? And it says World Boxing. Keep in mind, this is a UK-based media company. I have to stress that. World Boxing News, who revealed this to begin with, says World Boxing News can now reveal the name of the fighter who knocked out Joshua in sparring prior to the Andy Ruiz Jr. doing it for real. Joshua was badly hurt in a training session, which visibly marked his face, and WBN has been informed the boxer in question that did this was Joey Dawejko. Dawejko and Martin Bakole had been in camp with Joshua in the build-up to what was the Britain's U.S. debut. It's understood that Dawejko put Joshua on the canvas hard when they traded blows, something which may have had a profound effect on the ex-unified ruler mentally. His father, Robert, wanted Joshua removed from the headlining fight on June 1st. His calls were not subsequently acted upon. They did not meet his, request to cancel the bill. In the post-fight ring melee, after Ruiz had inflicted a horrendous loss on Joshua, Robert could be seen waving his finger and hurling abuse at promoter Eddie Hearn. It's fair to say Robert didn't want his son anywhere near Madison Square Garden that night. Joshua was seen asking his dad to calm down and mouthing the words, "I'm the one fighting. I'm the one fighting," as Robert attempted to get his point across. Suffering such a bad blow in camp must have been demoralizing for Joshua, coupled with the fact that the 30-year-old was far from home, American nightmare. It says AJ had fought exclusively in his own country for the duration of his career. There are some suggestions Joshua may not have fully been on board with the American adventure. A Wembley clash was scrapped ahead of it. Ruiz dropped Joshua 4 times. Furthermore, round 3 and 7 were devastating. Camera work picked up Joshua stating, "Why do I feel like this between rounds?" And I seen it on Twitter and I watched it live. A short time later, Ruiz inflicted hammer blow to take away the titles. A rematch is set for November, December, blah, blah, blah. So this is devastating for Team Joshua and Eddie Hearn, right? New media. I told you guys, this story sounds true. It sounds plausible. This would explain, as I mentioned, why Joshua felt different in the build up to this fight, why he was like overplaying it and smiling in every Instagram picture. You know, go to Joshua's Instagram for fight week. Every picture of him, he's like getting massage, he's smiling, he's walking in Central Park, he's smiling. And I'm like, man, I told you, it seems like Joshua is putting up fronts. I told you guys all this, 7 reasons. That's why I picked Andy Ruiz, man. And I'm like, man, Andy Ruiz is going to give him real problems. I hope he's not underestimating him. And this would explain it. But the thing is, doing all these pictures where you're smiling, those are still shots. Those are photos. When it came to the ring walk, it looked like there was some type of disconnect. Joshua seemed and appeared spaced out. If you have the zone, go back and watch from when they left this locker room. It looked like a closed locker room, dressing room. Everyone walked out and looked solemn and like they were walking to a funeral. Eddie Hearn was like this. You know, everybody had like this statuesque type of look. Like, you know, it's like almost like you already lost, like you walking back to the locker room after losing, you know, the look of the walk of shame. They walk like this on the way out. I have never seen Joshua and team walk out and look that unthrilled to be there. It looked like something was going on. So that's why the Dawejko story makes sense. Now, new media. Eddie Hearn did an interview with Talk Sports. See how I cover all the bases? He's explaining from his side what happened, why Joshua's pops was in there angry at him. And he denounced the fact that Joshua was hurt. He said, regarding the incident, Hearn told Behind the Gloves, Anthony's dad was upset with the result. Quote, it was a very emotional time for everyone. We were trying to keep calm. Quote, I think sometimes you have to just forget what's in play, the money, the networks, the belts, and just remember it's a sport. So the Telegraph. Eddie Hearn did an interview. It says Eddie Hearn denies claims that Anthony Joshua was hurt in a torrid sparring session in the Andy Ruiz fight. Let's look at it. This is by Gareth A. Davies. Anthony Joshua's promoter has been forced to deny claims that the British heavyweight was hurt in a torrid sparring session in the build-up to a stunning defeat by Andy Ruiz. Joshua lost his belts, etc. Right? The Briton had marks on his face as he entered Madison Square Garden, and his sluggish performance raised question marks about his preparation for the contest. After the fight, his father, Robert, was seen berating Hearn in the ring. Joshua ushered him away, and well-placed sources have suggested that Joshua had been roughed up in sparring, at one point even sent to the canvas. However, Eddie Hearn said, quote, absolutely, there is no truth that he was badly hurt in sparring. There were no health concerns going to the fight. The biggest concern was a sty on his eye. He's putting on a brave face after the defeat, but he already started to think about getting revenge. The rematch is a huge fight. There's a lot of pressure on AJ to win it. So, you know, according to the Eddie Hearn, he doesn't go into any detail, but he says it's not true. The only thing they were worried about is a sty on the eye. But why did Joshua get a sports psychologist? This is why I can't believe what Eddie Hearn is saying. Why did he have marks in his face? Why did he tell Radio Raheem it was based on physio and recovery, and then tell Sky Sports that he got it fighting a lion in camp? And the war wounds come with the territory, just like the battles on his scars. Joshua's team has just opened up Pandora's box, and this is complete and utter damage control. This is one of the biggest failed attempts to kind of cover up the story as far as I'm concerned. And I honestly can't believe what's being said based on the team that keeps changing. Now, Joey Dawejko, he's engaged right now, so shout out to him. His nickname is the Tank. Look, he sparred Andy Ruiz. And he has a similar build. He's a little bit shorter than Andy Ruiz, right? He's pictured in Miami. Remember, Joshua had the MTV Crib style that I talked about before the fight, MTV Crib style Miami warehouse, you know, where he had a gym with 2 rings. Oh, I got 2 rings and I don't even like the bigger one. And you see Joey Dawejko in camp with him, right? So we know he sparred both of them. You know, he didn't spar Ruiz for this camp, but he sparred Joshua for this camp. Like I said, based on the past, they have similar builds. That's why he's called the Tank. Ruiz is the Destroyer. You have an opponent in Gerald Miller who failed drug tests that you were initially supposed to fight, and you were supposed to fight him. You have him who failed a drug test with multiple drugs, a 6'4.5" guy. Now you're fighting a smaller guy. The rumors are suggesting you were hurt. This guy has quick hands and power or whatnot, and Andy Ruiz. Then the rumors are saying that you got hurt by someone with a similar build. You were away from home. You know, you walked out and looked shook. I can't believe what Eddie Hearn is saying, man. Look, this is him training and he's like talking to him or whatever. Right? And then this. Tell me this is not shocking. Listen.
Come live, what's your champ real quick? He's gonna tell you that I'm the best sparring partner he ever had. This guy's power. I heard him say it. My man.
You just had a video with Anthony Joshua vouching for Joey's power. He said, this guy's going to tell you I'm his best sparring partner. And he's like, making jokes and stuff. And he's like, man, this guy's power. Bro, everything suggests that there could be some truth to this, you know? Look, he hurting this dude. Joshua's vouching for his power. And you want me to believe what Eddie Hearn is saying? I can't do it. New media. Old media is now dead. I told you guys not to do this, bro. So it's just the signs. There's no signs that from the detective work that I'm doing and what we're hearing, why would the World Boxing News say, hey, Joshua's pops was upset for this reason? And then Eddie Hearn tells the Telegraph that it ain't true. Then World Boxing News reveals the person who allegedly did it, which is Joey Dawejko, a guy with power, a guy with a similar build to Andy Ruiz. And then I show you a clip how he sparred with Andy Ruiz, and I show you a clip of how he was in camp with Joshua. They have similar build, Ruiz and Dawejko, shorter guys. It just seemed like this was blunderous, and this was a nightmare and a disastrous card. And they were having reservations. Team Joshua is having reservations. Watch the ring walk. When they come out of the locker room, it was long, stalled. Joshua, at one point, before he goes past the curtains to get to the ring in the crowd, he stops, turns around, and everyone's just looking. And he starts drinking water. The whole buildup, he's leaning on the rack. He looked like he did not want to be there. There's no denying it. You could post and make yourself seem happy, but if you study and you look at the signs, you know, it's hard to fake that. It's hard to fake security. It's hard to, like, if the world's crumbling before you have a lot of stuff on your shoulders and bill collectors calling you and you're about to get evicted and your kids are hungry and, you know, you just got fired from your job, you could go on Instagram and try to make it look like, you know, everything's chipper. But when people are really around you, it's going to be hard to mask all of those emotions, especially on hand-to-hand combat. You know, Joshua looked like something was wrong. Now, let me just say this. This whole sparring story, people are thinking that people like myself are revealing what's being rumored or whatever and denied by Eddie Hearn, of course. Of course, he's going to deny it, right? Because Eddie Hearn, you got to look at it. Eddie Hearn, of course, is going to deny it because when you're a star like Anthony Joshua and you have sparring partners, they probably have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. So just like Ronda Rousey, I heard about a bunch of stories, but people can't confirm the stories because there's NDAs. So yeah, of course I would deny some shit when I know that there's a gag order, and most likely that's what happens. If you're sparring Floyd Mayweather, if you're sparring AJ and stuff, there's probably going to be some type of NDA where they can't say anything. So no matter what you say, you don't go into detail, and you know that this person, there's like legal ramifications if they talk too much or say too much, you know. because he brought you out and paid you and stuff like that. So if you go against the grade, go against this gag order, you probably, you know, so that's why people are probably questioning Joey Dawejko, and he probably isn't saying much, you know, because he doesn't want to, you know, this is the fighter's work. You know, if he wants to get in the Ruiz future camp, you know, if he told what happened, then that might fuck up his bag. So that's another reason fighters don't necessarily tell. And Eddie Hearn knows that, you know. Why would Joey Dawejko fuck up his money by saying, oh man, I slept this motherfucker. And then now he can't, Joshua don't want him in future camps. So, you know, people aren't going to mess up their bag like that. You know, if he got taken care of and paid well and Joshua's a cool person, especially if there's legal like NDAs. And Eddie Hearn knows that. He knows what they do behind the scene, you know, and that's not, that's pretty customary if you're Floyd or a big fighter. That's why do you think when Showtime's filming 24/7 and Floyd's about to spar or whoever, the cameras go off? Because they don't want to show you everything. I've been to several boxing gyms, you know, and Andre Ward, you know, Virgil Hunter's gym, and he's like, oh yeah, you can't record this, you know? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm not going to record that. Because nobody wants their blueprint and, you know, everything put out there on what's going on. But you tell me what sounds more believable. Like I said, you got clips of Joshua vouching for the power. You've seen how Joshua looked like he didn't want to be there. A lot of people are saying this is coming up as an excuse. I'm not making an excuse. I'm happy for Andy Ruiz. Shout out to Mexico. Shout out to Mexican Americans. The very first ever. None of this story changes what Andy Ruiz did. Because if he didn't have the skills, the attributes, the chin, and the heart to get back up or to even take the fight on short notice, only 5 weeks, then none of this would be, none of this would be a reality. So stop saying this is excuses. This story sounds actually plausible. That's why his dad was mad, because his son was concussed and it was a blunderous camp or something like that. And Joshua was being bested away from home. And they had like Final Destination. When the dude got off the plane, they had this premonition like, man, this is not going, this is looking like a bad night. And it was a bad night for all of Matchroom, including Eddie Hearn. Katie Taylor, people saying she got exposed and lost to Delphine Persoons. You know, Joshua lost to 4 knockdowns, and now people are like, oh, upset. They just made Andy Ruiz a star overnight. So you tell me, new media style, what do you think makes the most sense? You know, Joshua, his pops, he had to restrain his pops. I mean, when would that happen? When do you ever seen somebody, Robert Guerrero's pops, go attack the promoter, you know, and go to cuss the promoter out? Why would he do that? I understand being upset, mad your son lost and stuff, but he must have, it just feels like more to it. Like I said, when they came out of the locker room, everyone looks all solemn. Eddie Hearn has no smile on his face. And it looked like the pops was saying like, motherfucker, I told you to cancel this shit. That's what the rumors are suggesting. And that would all make sense for why Joshua looks spaced out. No one's taking anything away from Andy Ruiz, because like I said, he's a great fighter who capitalized on everything. If he didn't have the fast hands, if he didn't have the chin, if he didn't have the power. But I'm not saying the knockout is what caused Joshua, but he clearly sounded like he had a mental meltdown. If you know, Britney Spears when she shaved her head off and shit type of moment. The pressure grew, pressure burst pipes. That's what I think happened. He was under immense pressure and he didn't deal with it well. And a person like Andy Ruiz dealt with the pressure. He got knocked down. Oh shit, seeing stars. And then he was like, man, I'm not finna let Joshua, I'm going out on my shield. I'm not gonna let this motherfucker just bully me and you're gonna have to take me out of here. And then he connected the right shots. The rest is history. And the new. So stop saying it's excuses. Nobody's taking away from what Andy Ruiz did. But this story definitely sounds like there's some legs to it. You know, and I don't expect Joey to tank Dawejko. Shout out to Philly. I don't expect him to necessarily come out and confirm it. But, you know, I said this stuff before. I'm saying it during. I'm saying it after. It seemed like Joshua's confidence was not there and rattled. And this would all make sense. So you could believe Eddie Hearn and you could believe Joshua or whatever. We'll see what they decide to do with the rematch. And, you know, Wilder suggested that he's not going to take an immediate rematch. With all this stuff going on, I don't know if I would either, because this becomes a do or die dire situation. So what's done in the dark comes to light. Eddie Hearn can deny it. You know, Joshua can deny it. But if it's true, they know. You got to deal with that man in the mirror. So we're going to see how a rematch plays out. If they take the rematch, I can't wait. Boxing is lit. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you believe? Do you think Joey Dawejko actually cracked Joshua to the point where his confidence was rattled? And I told you, Joshua seemed too complacent. He was in Miami doing vlogs and You know, it seemed like a bad camp, period. I don't care what no one says. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.